So, folks, we're back again for part 3 of our descent into
Oh no, Sam Cedar. Wow, what a fucking nightmare.
a wonderful, wonderful holiday where we get to celebrate Sam Cedar dunking on a bunch of children. um, and I, for one, am here for it. And let's jump in. We're in section 3 of this, which is approximately halfway through the video. Um, Sam has just successfully laid some intellectual smackdown on a lady who appears to be a neo-Nazi, um, and is just claiming to be proudly xenophobic. So, that's kind of where we're at. Let's take a look at what the rest of this might be, shall we?
My next claim is the GOP will destroy Social Security and health care.
One thing I love about Sam, laser focused on Social Security, and I gotta be honest with you guys, having watched enough of the Majority Report, um, this is Sam's best topic. Sam Cedar loves nothing more than to talk about Social Security and issues related to it. And it's crazy, you know? It's crazy, crazy, crazy. It's also wonderful because as we're about to talk about issues related to Social Security, we've got people in YouTube chat accusing me of being obsessed with bathrooms when we're now talking about Social Security. Like, I don't know, watch the show a bit before you decide you don't understand what's happening, I guess. But you do you, whatever. You don't have to watch my show. That being said, Social Security is absolutely being gutted right now as we speak by conservatives. They have slashed the number of Social Security Administration offices by 60%. And that's their sideways way of coming after Social Security, but they will find others, especially in the budget resolutions that are sure to come. And yeah, let's hop right into it because I'm sure we've got some upstanding young conservatives who are about to champion how the GOP is definitely not going to cut Social Security, despite the fact that they are literally talking about doing it every single day now as they gear up to try and pass this budget resolution. So, whatever. Let's go into it.
Nice to see you.
So, what if Social Security should go away?
What if we fed the elderly into wood chippers? What if I saw this movie once called Logan's Run where they just kill everyone that hits the age of 30. What if we just fed the elderly into wood chippers? Hmm? What if we did that? Hospital, what are you talking about? What information war? Are you a veteran of the information war? Are you from the universe of Johnny Mnemonic? Fucking nuts over there.
That's my question to you.
Because
Dog, if you think the LGBT community is losing elections, you are dumber than a box of rocks and you're falling for conservative propaganda. People turn out in elections for working class issues. They do not turn out in elections to vote against queer people. Sorry, that's just facts. And if you're turning out in elections to vote against queer people, you're just a bigot. And I don't really give a fuck what you think, and I'm going to defeat you. And so are all my homies. Like, full stop. Oh, you think people don't deserve civil rights because they're different from you? Well, you know what? There were people in this country who thought that about black people. And you want to know what? Their children and grandchildren are embarrassed to speak their names around the dinner table at night. They're those bigots are the dirty secrets of their families. Those bigots are gonna have no one crying over them when they go and meet their maker, okay? So, if you wanna talk about people who lost the information war, I think historically, people who want to discriminate against others on the basis of characteristics like race or gender or sexuality, um, consign themselves to the dustbin of history. They're the ones losing the information war. And, well, history vindicates me to this day. And I believe history will vindicate me in the years to come. And you can go on being absolutely and completely irrelevant. And I'm sure when you get a bit older, you'll wonder where all your friends and family have gone. And I'm here to tell you that they've just kind of caught on to the fact that you suck. You know, they caught on to the fact that you're a bigot, and they have options to hang out with people who are better than you. You know, people who aren't bigoted. Um, and I want you to know that that's a tragedy because you don't have to be a bigot. You could simply choose to be a better person, but you don't. And that's sad. You know, every day that you live is just prolonging your tragedy. So I would suggest maybe doing some introspection and maybe deciding that, like, you don't need to hate gay people in order to live your life. You're projecting now? Maybe a bit, but you know what? You're not really you're not really contradicting anything I'm saying now, are you? It's pretty silly, isn't it? It's not really defensive if if what I'm doing right now is just laying out exactly what's happening to you right now. If I'm just explaining to you the exact state of confusion that you perpetually live in as you look around yourself and go, "Wait a minute, where did all my friends go? Why aren't my children calling me? Man, I don't understand." And like you might think, "Oh, it's arrogant." You try and create fake narratives. Cry more about it, asshole. Cry more about it. Oh, what are you an upstanding member of your community who doesn't at all discriminate against LGBTQ people? Yeah, because you know, coming into random chats on the internet to talk about how queer people are losing elections, that's a real sign of someone who's well adjusted. You're so right. You're so right. Oh, how could I have been so wrong? You know, how could I have been so wrong? Oh, you're right. Most people in America support LGBTQ rights. But you know, they're losing like supporting that is a losing strategy. You're right. You're right. Supporting incredibly popular things is a losing strategy. Get your head out of your fucking ass. My god. Like what do you think is popular? Do you think like it's really crazy. You don't know my sexuality. I don't need to. You can be a bigot regardless of your sexuality. It's 2025. Anything's possible, baby. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm not saying you're discriminating against me. It's just let me be crystal clear with you, hospital. The kind of person who comes into chats to talk about how unprompted, how LGBTQ issues are losing Democrats races. The kind of people who do that are bigots. And I need you to understand that you're both a bigot and completely and utterly divorced from the actual political reality, which is that queer rights are very popular. People support LGBT rights to get married, to use bathrooms, to, you know, not be discriminated against when it comes to housing or employment. These are all incredibly popular even to this day. And the fact that you're coming in here and saying, "Oh, well, they're losing issues for the election." Get the fuck out of here. You're a clown. and deeply unserious. You will see your ignorance? Sure. I want you to rewatch this. I won't. I'm just gonna edit it and put it up on YouTube. And other people are going to watch this and they're going to make an assessment based on what you're talking about. And you're going to look like a fool. Cause I'm just gonna look around here. Just quick show of hands in chat. How many people believe that hospital is a complete and utter ignoramus? How many of you like are like, this is actually really bad political calculus that you're doing? Yeah? Raise his hand. Clapping, of course. Yes, yes. You're all sycophants. How dare you agree with the very obvious truth in front of us? Incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. How does it feel? Like, I genuinely wonder, how does it feel being like the village idiot? You know? Like coming into town, thinking you're high and mighty, and then suddenly getting pelted with rotten tomatoes as everyone points and laughs at you for being like the biggest moron they've ever seen. Masterful gambit, indeed. You're right. We're all so extreme on LGBTQ issues. We believe queer people shouldn't be discriminated against and deserve codified protections under law. But yeah, LGBTQ issues are losers. Okay. Yeah. Uh-huh. All right. Oh, very knifey duck. No, it was beyond time. It was fine. They overstayed their welcome. He has nothing better to do since his wife left him, and his kids won't call him. It's true. It's true. I think I hit a little bit too close to home, if I'm being honest with you. I think maybe I predicted exactly what's going on in their life a little too closely.
Social Security keeps 2/3 of our elderly out of poverty. And not only does it keep our elderly out of poverty, it's essentially a social insurance program that protects you if at the end of your life you don't have enough money to survive.
For right now, do you know that it's also the
Hey, but you guys never talk on this channel about things that actually would get 30 million people to vote for you. You're always talking about bathrooms, says guy who's been here for 30 seconds.
albatross around our generation's neck?
No, it isn't.
Okay.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so many conservatives believe that like you are paying into Social Security to pay for the elderly, when in actuality the elderly have been paying into Social Security their entire lives. The elderly paid for themselves to be on Social Security. You are not paying for the elderly. When you pay out of your paycheck, you are not paying for the elderly to get Social Security. You're paying for yourself to get Social Security. God damn, dude.
Okay, so
let me just explain this.
Well, you're
Let me
gonna
explain
go
this to you.
back to lecturing me about Social Security.
Well,
we don't
that's
have.
what we're talking
What are you talking about, Social Security, bro?
about. Social Security.
Social Security is one of the top 3 funded.
Social Security is almost the biggest thing that our government does.
Exactly, and we are more than $30 trillion in debt.
Oh man, Sam is living for this. Sam is letting this guy dig himself a hole, and is about to just mention like we can solve the debt problem by raising the cap on Social Security. Fixes all of the problems with Social Security. It's crazy.
Well, first of all, Social Security cannot contribute legally to the deficit.
Because they don't even account it in the.
Mr. Anderson, yeah, you've been here for like 2 years now. You saw that you came here because I covered the UAW strikes. Which, by the way, congrats to UAW workers at Rolls-Royce. Did I see that they like got their negotiations underway and were able to like get the company to come to the table? UAW still doing great work. It's getting less media coverage. I need to do a bit more in that regard. There's just been so like much existential news going on.
Federal deficit every year.
Correct,
we have
because
30
it's
years.
self-funding. When Social Security started in 1936, You have more workers than retirees because people haven't entered into retirement. By 1970, it was at 3.5 to 1. Now it's at 2.5 to 1. But productivity has increased during.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Exactly satanic Panic at the Disco. Like, if you want an issue that will unite independents, Democrats, and conservatives, it is Social Security. And Republicans know that. That's why they're all scared to touch it, but they're still gonna go for it anyway. And like, this is an issue where, like, raising the cap on Social Security is a winning issue for Democrats. Democrats should be running on it. And you want to know what else? The only Democrat I've heard talk about it is Bernie Sanders and Tim Walz. Those are the two politicians recently that I've heard talking about raising the cap on Social Security. Those two politicians. And I think Tim Walz is trying to gun for a Bernie Sanders like run in 2028. Let's make it fucking happen, folks.
That time. So the amount of money paid into Social Security has been up there. The reason why we are running out of money just for the trust fund, not for Social Security. Like I say, if we do nothing with Social Security now.
Can I just say,
money just for the trust fund, not for.
I love this guy's like side eye of Sam. Like now he's wary. He's been in the cage with the tiger twice now.
Social Security. Like I say, if we do nothing with Social Security now, it is statutorily unable to contribute to the debt. The math is right there. The reason why.
Wait, why are there middle class conservatives against things that they might need when they're older? Because the key word in what you just asked was might need. A lot of middle class conservatives tend to delude themselves into thinking that they will never need Social Security. They will never need Medicaid. They will never need these social programs. And they delude themselves while thinking like, too many undeserving people get these things. But if I ever needed it, I would deserve it. Essentially. It's the kind of thing where, exactly, depraved ambience, who says they are all temporarily embarrassed millionaires. That is a very American view of like all middle class people are just on the verge of making it big. You know? That's why so many of them are like in favor of cutting Social Security, or at the very least kind of ambivalent about it, and they don't think they'll necessarily need it. Yeah.
Why the trust fund is running out is because wealth inequality has hoarded so much money above the cap.
You don't think it's because the government does a terrible job managing their money? They have a
This, by the way, the propaganda that this young conservative man is spewing right now is the idea that what needs to be done with the Social Security Trust Fund is that it needs to be privatized. What his argument is, it boils down to essentially that the government does a terrible job managing the Social Security Trust Fund, and therefore we need to give that trust fund to Wall Street to play around with and, make exponentially bigger, and then we can increase the payouts. But like, they never think, hey, what happens if the stock market crashes? What happens to everyone's retirement paycheck if the stock market crashes? That sounds like a fever dream. It's basically the biggest wet dream Wall Street has ever conjured up, yes.
Huge spending problem, and they go, look at all this money we have for Social Security that's earmarked for 60 years from now that we're just going to spend on something right now.
40 years ago, they predicted this. This is an actuarial table. Accountants sit there and look at it. This is a very easy math problem.
Accountants in the government are always right? That's totally the thing that you're saying? That they're always correct about money, right? That's why we have a $40 trillion debt problem.
The problem isn't the math with the $40 trillion debt problem. It's you have tax
It's
cuts.
the spending problem. I totally agree with you, which I would argue is part of why Social Security's gone in the hole so already.
This guy doesn't understand how Social Security works. Social Security is like isolated from the rest of the government. It is a trust fund. It is designed to like, earn a steady but moderate like interest, and also like it's paid into by workers for their own retirements. Like it, he's complaining about all these other aspects about the government. Fine, grant all of those granted, but we're talking about Social Security, and Social Security is like one of the most stable parts of government that can be fixed with one simple trick, which is making the rich pay their share. Because it's kind of wild, right? That everyone pays into Social Security. Everyone across all income brackets pays into Social Security up to like $250,000. And suddenly, everything after $250,000 income per year, everything after that just caps out. It caps out. It stops paying into Social Security. And you have to wonder, I wonder what the solvency of Social Security would be if we removed that cap and suddenly millionaires were paying their fair share into Social Security and billionaires were paying their fair share into Social Security. I wonder what that would do to the solvency of the Social Security Trust Fund. They never stop and ask that question. It's a very simple question.
Already.
That's simply not true.
Oh, okay. So we're out of money from the Social Security bucket.
No. Statutorily, by that I mean by law, Social Security pays for itself. If we do nothing, the 6.2% that your employer and your employee pays into it will pay out 78% of benefits starting in 2033.
And why is it going down? If everything's so much better, why is it only 78%?
If we raise the cap, there's a cap right now at $176,000. So for instance,
sorry, I thought it was $250,000. I thought it was actually much higher. It's actually much lower than I thought. Damn, that is low.
If you make $100,000, you pay $6,200 into that.
A year,
a year. But if you make $4 million, do you know how much money you pay into Social Security? $6,200.
And so
yeah, seems kind of weird that someone making $100,000 would pay into Social Security the same amount as someone making millions of dollars, isn't it? That seems really bizarre. Especially when you consider who can more afford to pay into Social Security? Someone lower on the income ladder or higher on the income ladder? Chat, which do you think it is? Do you think someone lower on the income ladder has an easier time paying into Social Security, or someone higher? Can you tell me what it is? Higher! That's right, Jazz Dog. Very good. Hiya! Or as Vic Michaelis might say, hiya!
Why should wealthy people pay a higher percentage?
Man, they really bottom of the barreled conservative ideologues, didn't they? They really bottom of the barreled conservative ideologues. Oh my god, what the fuck? Can you not do math, my guy? Why should wealthy people pay a higher percentage? They literally pay the same percentage. The issue is if you lifted the cap, they would pay the same. Right now, they pay a lower percentage. God damn it.
No, they should pay the same percentage. 6.2 on $400,000, 6.2 on $1 million.
And why should they pay even more money at all? Because they make more money? Again,
they're paying the same percentage. They're paying the same share of their income as everyone else down the ladder.
You fundamentally have this idea that because somebody, okay, you have an idea that
these people are just angry at how percentages work. Fundamentally, these people are just incurious, don't understand math. And you know what? I get it. I got a degree in English. I'm not good at math. I am not a math person. But I still understand how percentages work. Like maybe one ought to look that up sometime if one is going to talk about Social Security and taxes, you know? The accountant part of my brain is dying at how this wild-eyed fool does not understand percentages, right? Like, I'm not an accountant and I'm not good at math, but I understand on a very simple level how percentages work. You know? This is why we need to fund schools. I don't know if more school funding would have helped these people. I'm being honest with you.
Because somebody makes more money, that's fundamentally wrong, right?
No, I don't think it's fundamentally wrong. I think that they should pay more taxes into it. Now, I do think as a society, we should not allow billionaires. So,
you know, that Coder Joe, that is a really good point to bring up. 6.2% of the income of a minimum wage earner makes it harder to buy food and housing, while 6.2% of a millionaire's income will not prevent them from getting food and housing, will not prevent them from getting the necessities they need to live. They will still, in fact, be able to live very comfortably on $1 million while paying 6.2% into Social Security.
So for
they
instance,
can pay more taxes generally, but why should they?
The highest tax rate was and the greatest expansion of our economy.
Hang on,
in this
does a
country?
billionaire get more money from Social Security if they went to go take it than I would?
No,
of course not.
Insurance.
So why should they pay more?
I'll tell you why. Because it is a social insurance program that keeps you from being in poverty when you're a senior. And the reason why I think billionaires should pay more taxes than other people, even a higher percentage, is because it works better for society. The greatest expansion we've had in this country in terms of economics and the least amount of wealth disparity was in the 40s and 50s and 60s in this country. Do you know what the top marginal rate was?
It was high.
Do you know
yeah,
what
I don't know the exact number, but
if you made over $470,000 in 1955, every dollar you would make above that was taxed at 90%.
Now, folks, this is the part where we need to talk about how top marginal tax rates work. Because you might have just heard what he said and thought to yourself, wow, so if you made $400 and was it $75,000? You got taxed at 90%? That's crazy. That would mean you only made like $400 or $140,000? Or wait, sorry, I need like the number on screen.
Do you know what I don't in this country? Do you know what the top marginal rate was?
It was high.
Do you know what
I don't know the exact number, but
if you made over
$470,000. Cool. If you made over $470,000, you had to pay 90% of your income? Oh my God. That's like you would only be like making $47,000 if you made $470,000 because you'd have to pay 90% of it in taxes. But that's not how a marginal tax rate works. What a marginal tax rate is that you pay 90% on every dollar made after $470,000. Meaning that that 90% only applies to the money you make after you've already made almost $500,000. Which makes it a lot more reasonable.
$70,000 in 1955, every dollar you would make above that was taxed at 90%.
So I have a question.
90 cents on every dollar was taxed above 470. So if we had in today's dollars,
which is wild, by the way. But
and it's also
also that applies after deductions. Very good point, Coder Joe. 1955, individuals making more than $200,000, 2.4 million today, or married couples with an income of more than 400,000 were taxed at 91% at the highest tax bracket. Oh, damn, Sam. Oh, damn. Sam, you said $470,000, Sam, but really it was $200,000. Sam, how could you fuck us like that with lies?
Greatest expansion we had of the economy.
Yeah, you can expand for a time, and then you see places. You see like Nordic countries that were like, oh, let's tax the hell out of our rich people, right? And then they go, whoops, we messed up. We can't actually live off of our terrible. We basically are able to live off our economic boom that they had between like the 40s and the 90s, and then we have to revert all of that because we made a terrible choice and we were able to have a party for 50 years.
What are you talking about, bro? Like, the Nordic countries are doing A-okay. The main problems with the Nordic countries are that they are privatizing. They're privatizing their strong social safety nets. Like, they're caving to capitalism right now, and it's causing austerity across the entirety of, like, Europe. And that's a direct result of privatizing those strong social safety nets that they previously had. So, like, I don't know what bro is, waffling about.
Until we realized we ran through all the money that capitalism got us. So let me ask you real quick. So the average...
there... I don't know if this guy knows this, but Nordic countries are still capitalist. I don't know. I don't know if he knows this, but like, the Nordic countries are still doing capitalism. They're not socialist. They have social safety nets, which is different. Yeah, Sam is taking psychic damage.
For all the money that capitalism...
You can literally see how much he blinks here as he takes at least 20 points of psychic damage.
Got us. So let me ask you real quick. So the average person, right?
If you want to tally up how much damage he took, just count the number of blinks, all right?
Years until we realized we ran through all the money that capitalism got us. So let me ask you real quick.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
so
6,
the
7,
average
8, 9, 10. Sorry, 10 points of psychic damage.
The average person, right? Right now they fundamentally look at Social Security, young people like me, and they go, I'm going to have that money sitting waiting for me when I retire. Since your opinion is whatever works best for the average person is better, wouldn't you rather shift towards something that I would agree with, which is getting people that are 19, 20 years old into funding their own retirement rather than...
That's what Social Security is! Congrats, asshole! You just described Social Security! That's what the program does! God damn it! Fuck, man! Oh, God. Odd Spectre, thank you for subscribing with Prime. Well, 1 blink is 2 eyes, 2 times 10. Oh, exactly, 20 damage. Very good. You just reinvented Social Security with extra shittier steps.
Relying on other people to fund it for
You're
them.
talking like the 401k.
Sure. Well, not just the 401k, but IRAs, any other type of retirement. Would you agree? Would we agree with that?
Social Security was set up as part of a three-legged stool where back in the day, when I was a kid, we had defined benefit pensions, where you'd know how much money you would get out. Yeah. That all shifted in the 80s to defined contribution, where you know how much you put in. The 401k started during that Reagan era. It has been a disaster because the fact of the matter, for better or for worse, people just don't save in the way that you're talking about.
Why?
It would be nice if they could.
If the government were changing the mind.
Why don't people save? Asks man who clearly has never had to scrimp and save in order to put food on the table. Why don't people save? It's because they have to spend the money, asshole. Most people in this country do not have like a couple $100 for an emergency. They don't have $5,000 to max out their 401k every year. They're living paycheck to paycheck doing minimum wage jobs. And eating way too much avocado toast, apparently. That's why millennials all don't have homes.
Mindset and actually pushing that cultural shift towards we're not just going to hand you money when you're 65. You have to plan for it right now.
We've had a 40-year experiment with the government affecting the cultural mindset, and it failed.
We've had a 40-year experiment of everybody. You know what my parents say? Do you know what grandparents say? They go, "Well, I'm just waiting for my social security check to come in," rather than.
Yeah, because that's what they use to live, man. Oh man, I'm just waiting for my check to come in. Yeah, because they paid into it so they could retire. Do you want them all to be like begging groceries in order to make rent? Like what you want 95-year-old Mima to be like rolling a rascal around the mall trying to like scare off shoplifters? Like what they worked their entire lives for that money, man. They paid into it.
I have $800,000 waiting for me because I thought about it when I was 19 and 20 because I didn't have this grab bag of money waiting.
Okay, yeah, this is definitely a man who has never had to scrimp and save to put food on his table. Dude has $800,000 waiting for him for retirement. Yeah, Bud, I don't know how to break this to you. You are not indicative of the average person's economic situation in America.
For me, you're assuming that young people.
I try and tell my kids.
So we agree. We should get rid of Social Security.
No. Look, there's a difference between like, here's what you should do under ideal circumstances, and here's what you have to do in your actual circumstances. Those two things do not often align.
No.
Phase it out.
Yeah, why aren't all kids like me simply trust fund babies? Why can't everyone be like me? Sitting on like his crypto billions or whatever. Like I got in on shitcoin at the very beginning and sold it after the initial pump, and I'm up several $1,000,000. Why can't everyone be like me?
Well, no. So we should phase out. How would you listen to this idea? You phase out Social Security to where people who have 5 years left before they retire.
To people who have 5 years left before they retire? Dog. Do you know how many people you're gonna fuck over with that? Best of luck. We're phasing out Social Security. You have 5 years to figure out how you're gonna be able to retire. Hey, everyone who you thought you were a decade away from retirement, how about we sell you a new future where you never retire? You just work until you die. How about that? Yeah, you have 5 years to make $1,000,000. Otherwise, we turn you into Soylent Green.
Get 100% of the benefits. And then people like me who have 40 years until we retire,
dude,
I'm not going to get it. I'm going to get screwed either way.
No,
you really think
I'm going to get screwed either way? No, just raise the cap on Social Security, man. If you just raise the cap, you don't get screwed. You get the same benefits, man. What's insane to me is he's like doing all of these mental gymnastics when he has a very easy solution in front of him, which is just raise the cap on Social Security and have like millionaires and billionaires pay their fair share. And rather than like accept that solution, he's like trying to like do all kinds of flips and shit.
All of the money I have ever earned, working for 18 years doesn't come to $800K. Hell, if I had been making what I'm making now, the highest I've ever made, for the last 18 years, it wouldn't be $800K.
Yeah, I've been working as like I worked as a video game journalist for a decade, and I've been doing this for like the last 5 years, and I'm just now, like as we're speaking, like getting to a point where I'm feeling relatively economically okay. And that's not like I'm not making a lot of money. I'm just making enough money where I'm like, maybe I don't have to panic about bills. Maybe, maybe. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and donate. Because this show is not possible without you guys. Just as an FYI, gonna plug that in there because you guys make this show work and allow me to continue to live, and I am eternally grateful for that. But like, if you added up like everything I've ever made, like it would be it would not be that much. And that is after 15 years in the workforce. Uh, Viewers like you, thank you. God.
I'm going to get Social Security
I
someday.
guarantee you, at the very least, you're going to get 78% of your benefits.
That's
if you
awesome. I'll get
join me- if you
$9,000 a
join
year.
me
That's great.
in calling for our government to increase the cap, in fact, get rid of the cap, then your grandkids will
man.
get Social Security.
I would much
100% of their
rather,
benefits.
and again, maybe we'll just disagree, but I would much rather result to, hey, 20-year-olds, please save for your own retirement, invest for your own retirement, because the government is bad at dealing.
Okay, but like, what if they can't? You know, like, what if someone reaches the retirement age and hasn't been able to save up that much? Should they just be, I don't know, what do you want done with them? You know, like, you can't just say, well, everyone will simply do the ideal thing that I'm imagining for them. Like, that's not how societies work.
with money.
And what happens
Don't
if they
rely on
don't?
them. What happens
I'm really glad Sam asked the exact question I asked. That's wonderful.
if what?
What happens if those 20-year-olds don't listen to you?
The same thing that happens if a 20-year-old just doesn't go and get a job because I tell them to.
No.
They're going to have a problem, but that's not my fault.
They're gonna have a problem. You know, we did a case study of what would happen in a society like that, and fun fact, everyone, it sucked, and a lot of the elderly simply died on the streets of exposure because they didn't have money and didn't have families who were capable of like taking them in, and it was not, in fact, a rad time. And no, people saw that happen to the elderly, and they didn't want that happening to them when they got older, and hence we got Social Security.
No, I got news for you. It's not your fault, but there used to be in New York City 30,000 people sleeping
No one
on
in
the
this
Bowery
room was
before
alive before Social Security. We've all lived under this, just like the
And it
income
has
tax.
been the most successful government program in the history of our government
Things that are
programs.
successful don't just start to die out and
Again, the reason it's dying out is because we capped Social Security. We stopped having billionaires and millionaires pay their fair share. Oh. Let's see. Just pulling this up here. The taxable max of Social Security has been in place since its founding, but Congress has modified it over time to address several policy goals. Let's see here. Da-da-da. Do-do-do-do-do. The percentage of workers with earnings above the tax max fell from 15% in 1975 to about 6% in 1983 and has remained level at that level ever since. Historically, an average around 83% of covered earnings have been subject to the payroll tax. Ba, ba, ba. Yeah. The percentage of earnings covered by the tax max has fallen since the early 1980s because earnings above max earners have grown faster than earnings among the rest of the working population. Basically, the wealth of the elite, and this is, by the way, a study you can find here over on the Social Security Administration webpage. Get it while you can, I guess. The evolution of Social Security's taxable maximum from 2011. So a bit outdated, perhaps by changes since then. But yeah, basically, wealth in the upper echelons of society has grown exponentially faster than those who are actually working and under the tax max of Social Security, the cap. And yeah, basically, more people are under the cap, but the people who are above that cap are way above the cap. So if you remove the cap, it solves a lot of the problems, essentially. I hope that very quick and simple explanation helps you to understand exactly why we need to get rid of the cap. Hema there, Sig. Thank you for subscribing over on Twitch. I appreciate it. Thank you so goddamn much. And here, I'll just link this in chat. And the rich wouldn't even notice. I mean, they'd be mad about it on principle, but it wouldn't meaningfully impact their day-to-day living, you know? Like, if someone is making $1 billion, they aren't going to notice 6% of it going away. Like, Warren Buffett can't even keep track of his money. Most of these people who are that level of wealthy can't even figure out what to spend it on or invest it on, you know? Like, it's insane.
It's not dying out.
It's the grab bag of money, the massive excess that was there in the early years because of the 42 to 1 beneficial.
It wasn't a massive excess in 1936.
42 to 1
Dude,
is
that was
a
just
massive
because
excess.
There weren't that many people who had entered into the Social Security program.
And the fact that
in 1970 it was 3.5 workers to 1. Now it's 2.5, but productivity has increased it. I've told you why.
Yeah, also keep in mind 2.5 workers for every one person on Social Security, but also that one person on Social Security paid into Social Security for their entire lives, their entire life. They have already given the money to the system. Like, they're just pulling the benefit that they paid for out of it. So, like, these ratios don't really matter that much when you're talking about the benefits.
The Social Security Trust Fund is running out. It is because of wealth disparity. Billionaires hiding and hoarding their money above the cutoff line, which is...
Well, Shoot Bang, I understand and I sympathize with your worry. And I'm just going to read it out. Watching this does make me worry about how we can function as a society with so many people so willfully ignorant and destructive. Just keep in mind that in these shows put on by Jubilee, all of these young conservatives are some kind of social media influencer for the most part. Jubilee tries to kind of affect this idea that it's just normal people coming together to hash things out. Everyone on their shows is some kind of social media influencer. So this is not like a random grab bag of like Trump supporters. This is these are Trump supporters who are, you know, making a career of, or trying to, of influencing. They're doing this for the clicks in a way. And, you know, not successfully. A lot of them apparently had to lock down their accounts after this because conservatives came after them for making them look bad. And if you're wondering, wait, what do you mean for making them look bad? Real quick, I want to throw this up here. Literally, here is a conservative over on Twitter. This would make a great profile photo. Lol, it's how I feel anytime I try to converse with a woke individual. And it's like, dog, Dog. This man is trying to converse with you, motherfucker. Like they literally watch this and they're like, "Oh yeah, that Sam Cedar guy. He's a conservative like me for real." And it's fucking hilarious. It's nuts. Twitter is going insane over this.
It's 176,000. That's the cap. If you
Hiding
remove
and
the cap,
hoarding their money.
your grandkids
Billionaires aren't keeping $2 billion under their mattress. They're investing it back into.
They're just putting it into some stock market, or they're just looking around.
And what do you think a
crypto
401k or an
whatever it is.
IRA relies upon? It relies on the stock market and things like
Yeah,
that.
a 401k relies on the stock market, and I knew people who were retiring in 2008 when the stock market tanked and they got screwed.
Well, that's a whole other problem. I would argue that's largely driven by the government being once again terrible.
Yeah. You know, if the government, if only the government, the evil, dastardly government, hadn't been involved, the stock market never would have crashed. Someone needs to look up the history of stock market crashes, because you can find some real hands-off times in America's past when we got some pretty gnarly crashes. A pretty notable one, in fact, in, the 1930s was a result of that. Oh my god, this guy, man.
With policy and creating bad economic hazards.
Social Security is there regardless of what happens with the stock market.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority.
Also, like, Sam just nailed the reason why we don't want to have our retirements tied up in the stock market. Because stock market line doesn't always go up, guys. Sometime egg go up. Sometime line go up. Sometime Trump take egg. You don't even have to go back that far. We had the crash of '08. Yeah, and Sam does a really good job pointing out that, like, people retiring in '08 got fucked.
Please return to your seat.
Thanks,
Wait, are conservatives latching onto Sam to create confusion? No, they just didn't really understand that he was, not a conservative. They saw a white man with, like, salt pepper hair and just were like, ah, yes, a conservative.
Micah.
Hey, Micah.
Good evening,
Sam. Nice to meet you.
There's an idea that you have that basically government can kind of fix all these problems, right?
Not to generalize here, but this guy looks like he's about to drop some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life, and I need to, like, mentally prepare myself. Again, I need to reiterate, I have not pre-watched this. I'm just getting incredibly rancid vibes off this guy.
If you didn't save for retirement, well, then the government can just come in, swoop in, and save you from
Well,
that.
not swoop in. It starts on literally the day you get your Social Security.
Sure. It swoops in once you retire, right? Once you can.
Well, it's also not swooping in once you retire. You've paid into it your entire life. Like, you can only really conceive of this as swooping in if, like, you think of it as, like, a fund completely disconnected from what you've done in your life. But, like, you paid into it. The government is not swooping in. Your funds that you paid into this system are swooping in. This is the investment paying off.
Well, you pay into it.
Right, exactly. And so
Not a single one of these people understands how Social Security works. And, like, I'm not going to pretend like I'm some kind of Social Security whiz kid. I don't know. I don't know all the ins and outs. But, like, damn. Come on, guys. Like, read up about it, like, maybe for 10 minutes before you go on a show.
You believe this idea basically that government is an effective organization, which it just time and time again, if you look at history, that's proven to not be true.
Yeah, when did the government ever do things like fight wars effectively? You know, all of those very effective private military wars, you know? Looking at history, all of those very effective privatized roads that are always immaculately kept, you know? All of those things that government does that doesn't help you at all, like I don't know, having public firemen. You know, I remember back in the good old days when we had privatized firefighters, and they just show up at your house and you know, tell you, hey, you wanna save your house? It's on fire. Be an awful shame if it kept being on fire. You better pay us, you know, a little extra than you thought you would. Hmm. That worked out great. So great that nobody ever wanted private firefighters ever again.
When you're hitting at retirement, you don't know. This is an insurance program. That's it. It's an insurance program, and it basically says you're insured against eating cat food when you're 65. And it works. It works.
No, it doesn't. You should have, well, one.
Wait, it does. It certifiably does. Like something like 60%, 70% of elderly in nursing homes are there because of Social Security. They're able to live in stable housing with like medical care because of Social Security. And they aren't forced to eat cat food in like frigid, unheated apartments in the wintertime um because of Social Security, you know? Well, I have an excellent counter argument to that. What if we pretend you're wrong?
One, you should have your own personal.
How doesn't it work?
How doesn't it work?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've already discussed the details of how it is just completely failing as a program. Like,
Well, how is it failing as a
Because I'm
program?
not going to receive any social
No.
security.
Yeah, Alexis fandom, look up Crassus, the Crassus Fire Brigade. Um, there is a historical figure named Marcus something Crassus, and he lived in ancient Rome, and he is one of the wealthiest Romans to ever exist. And he got wealthy because essentially he had a privatized firefighting force that would sometimes also do arson against people he didn't like, and then would show up to put out the fire and would shake people down like a mafia boss. And he did this so effectively that he became one of the wealthiest people in the world as a result. Like, they would literally go and hang out at fires and just, like, be like, "Oh, man, it's a real shame your house is burning down. If only someone could do something about it." And, like, that's literally how they would operate. Like a goddamn gang. Um, it's yeah, it's not great. Fascinating part of history, by the way. Oh, and you know, I know people are just obsessed with the Roman Empire and like historical parallels. Um, Marcus Crassus was one of the richest people in the world. You know, arguably at the time the richest man in the world. And can anyone take a wild guess at who Marcus Crassus supported politically? Anyone want to take a wild guess? Julius fucking Caesar. He was the patron of Julius Caesar and masterminded the downfall of the Roman Republic to replace it with the Roman Empire. Just, you know, an interesting historical potential parallel with what's happening right now with our current richest man in the world. Just some food for thought. Worth thinking about.
I've already told you right
I know.
now.
I'm not going to rehash out that debate.
Well,
the main
look
issue.
at the numbers. You've just been told this, and you know why you've been told it? Is because they want to raid it to give tax cuts to rich people. That's why.
So are you saying there are the Trump tax cuts were only for rich people? You're saying
Yes. All of the benefits of the Trump tax cuts were designed primarily to go to the richest people on the planet. Like a solid, 90% of them, yes.
saying
No,
people.
I'm not saying they're only for rich.
Oh, okay. Then how could
rich
they
people
only
benefited more from it than low-income people? And I would
And
say,
what do you mean benefited more from that? Because we already went over the percentage
'cause they
numbers,
don't
and we
need
know
the
that's
money.
not true.
They don't need the money as much, and they don't need it.
What are you talking about? These rich people are the people that are investing in smaller businesses. These are the people.
Yeah, but we're talking about needs for subsistence survival. We're talking about what people need when we're talking about having a house, having shelter, having money for bills, having food, having medical care. We're talking that's what we're talking about. When we say they can afford it, we mean literally they can afford it and continue to invest in businesses and have no material impact on their day-to-day existence. That's what we mean when we say they can afford it. And oh no, they'll be able to invest 6% less of their wealth. Oh no. Except that 6% of wealth is going to go towards, keeping people from dying. Keeping people from perishing in the gutter. I think that might be a more useful use of the money than investing in a small business. I'm just spitballing here. And also, that's a good point. That's actually a really good point, Kara Calico in YouTube chat. It goes right back into the economy too. Because guess what, guys? You want to know what doesn't circulate generally in an economy? Billionaire and millionaire money. Because billionaires and millionaires sit on just gigantic treasure troves of wealth. And you want to know what actually circulates money in an economy? People spending it on necessities. If someone is living off their Social Security paycheck, it stimulates the local economy because they are spending it at the grocery store. They're spending it on their house. They're spending it on their apartment. They're spending it locally. It flows, which generates the healthy economy. Okay? But Smaug would miss, a couple paltry trinkets from his massive trove. How dare you begrudge Smaug his trinkets? Is literally this guy's argument.
That are giving other people jobs.
But Smaug stimulates the economy of Lake Town by occasionally creating cheap new real estate for them to buy.
Jobs to allow them to provide for their family.
Okay,
Listen,
pause.
God.
What's up? Hey. Good to be back.
Nice to see you.
Okay, yeah, nice to see you too. I want to zoom out a little bit.
Okay.
So obviously you're
Oh God, is this discount Michael Knowles? Oh God.
pinpointing on Social Security, and there's a reason for
Hey,
that.
Ms.
And
Milena.
healthcare too.
Oh, okay, but Social Security is the program that you're very concerned about, and that or like
Medicare. I'd love a Medicare for all program, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the reason you're focusing in on Social Security precisely is because Social Security is the most successful in a shadow of social welfare programs and government spending. That it's like the Democrats.
It's also the biggest bucket of money.
Sure, it is the biggest
government-
bucket,
the
but
biggest
the
thing.
Democrats have these social programs and this deficit spending, and it just never ends. It's never enough money. So you're focusing on Social Security because it is the one successful child, but you're ignoring all the social.
Wait, but you should keep the successful program, though. If it's working, you should keep it. Like, what are you doing, my
Social
guy?
welfare, the social welfare state that we become.
Social
70%,
Security and
well,
Medicare and Medicaid make up
the majority.
over like a
Right, so
third
70% of our federal spending is mandatory. And that, you're right, it's Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, interest on debt. 8% of we're paying for that. So the Democrats run on this. Essentially, they want a welfare state. So yes, Social Security might help a lot of people, but it's like we're closer to a welfare state than we've ever been. 38.
Henry.
As a kid, I used to believe dragons existed. Then I stopped believing that as I got older, and as I got even older I learned hey do in fact exist. And they're just giant leeches.
Can I tell you guys one of my favorite elements to include in fantasy? In like fantasy works of fiction that I've worked on, or like D&D games. I love to incorporate ideas like, if you amass enough gold and wealth, you slowly start turning into a dragon. I love that idea that dragons are not like natural creatures, but are instead created by that covetous greed that leads a creature to hoard to that extent. You know, like, and in that way they are like truly like twisted kinds of abominations. Because I think that's largely how it works in our world, you know? Like, people who amass that amount of wealth are generally twisted beyond all reason. Like, you look at Elon Musk and you're like, what broke this man so much? And it's genuinely it's his wealth. His wealth has isolated him and driven him mad, you know? And like, I think it's possible to like potentially have $1 billion and be like not like that, but like, it's, you got to go through like a loophole where you like inherited a dragon's hoard and now you have to figure out what to do with it before it, twists you to death, you know? I just problems like that. Um anyway, just a little tangent sideways tangent. Um let's finish this. We're almost done with section 3.
8% of the GDP in the U.S. is government spending. That's the highest since World War II. So us conservatives, we're trying to tell you, like, you guys are fiscally really
So are you worried
irresponsible.
about the tax cuts and what that does to the debt and deficit?
The tax cuts increased revenue.
No.
Yes.
The tax cuts did not increase revenue. Oh my god. Oh. The Trump tax cuts benefits were outweighed by lost revenue. Aw, damn. Well, maybe it's an analysis by a bunch of morons. Wait, an analysis of tax cuts by Harvard's Gabriel Chaudhary, Princeton's Owen Zidar, and Chicago Booth's Eric Zwick finds the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act has boosted investment as well as wages and economic activity, but not nearly enough to make up for the substantial losses in corporate tax revenues that have increased the deficit. Oh. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. You mean we just gave a bunch of benefits to the wealthy and got nothing back in return? Ah, jeez. God. Can we take a look here? What do they throw some numbers in this analysis? Okay. Among the research they cite is a paper by Zwick and co-authors that finds, among other things, that the law reduced corporate tax revenue by 40%. Companies that enjoyed larger cuts invested more than companies that saw less tax relief, increasing their total tangible corporate investment by 8 to 14%. So if you got a larger cut, and again, an overall cut of 40% of corporate tax revenue, but they only boosted their investment by 8 to 14%. And I also want to emphasize here that a lot of them, their investment was into their own stock to pump up stock value. So we didn't really get a whole lot out of that, did we?
I want to tell you about Kansas.
Okay, tell me about Kansas.
Sam Brown back in 2012 brought in Arthur Laffer. You know the Laffer curve, right?
Yeah. Sam is about to talk about how Kansas got utterly and completely fucked by the Laffer curve.
The argument that if you cut taxes, you're going to get more revenue.
And that's exactly what happened.
Kansas.
Oh my God. And that's exactly what happened, right? They cut taxes in Kansas and everything was hunky dory, right? Right? No. Oh my God. Oh my God. Kansas got so fucked by those tax cuts that like they had to like backpedal so hard on so many aspects of it. It was a disaster. It like leveled the economy of Kansas. It was wildly terrible.
That's exactly what happened to TCJ.
It destroyed Kansas. By 2016,
Let's
a
look at the
Republican
numbers.
legislature raised taxes again. They destroyed their education
Reality
system.
is against you, my friend.
Look up Kansas.
The
In
numbers.
fact,
The numbers
during
say
the Trump administration, they sent Sam Brown back. They made him the ambassador to faith because they didn't want this guy
if
around
you
because
want
it was
to tax
a
the
disaster.
rich, you should vote Republican because they pay more in taxes under Republican.
This guy just lives in another reality. Conservatives don't pay more in taxes under Republicans.
It was the same as
Revenue went
Reagan.
down.
It
Look
was
at
the same as
Kansas.
Trump.
Look at
the
Kansas.
U.S. Look at the U.S.
Look
We
at
have
Kansas.
the numbers
It
for
was
this.
the perfect
Obama's
experiment.
best year,
It destroyed
federal income
Kansas.
revenue, is pales in comparison to Trump's worst year. Do you get what I'm saying? Does more taxes necessarily equate to more revenue?
Yes.
No, that is.
If you tax more, will you get more in taxes? No. 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 Man, how do you like show up and get blown the fuck out like this so quickly? These people are like basically just showing up and just saying, Sam, I want you to blow my back out instantly. Okay? I don't even want you to warm me up. I just blow my back out with your facts and logic.
That's where you're wrong. So if you look at TCJA, and I'll say the numbers again, the top 1% paid more into the system. GDP grew, wages grew 3% year over year under TCJA. So when you're saying tax the rich, like
They didn't.
But you're
it sounds
saying,
like you're actually a Republican. You just don't know it yet.
You're confusing causation with correlation
I'm
because
not.
Because Obama's economic recovery was way too slow, and I agree with you on that.
Way too slow.
Way too slow.
When you have tons of stimulus, what you're doing is you're creating the Great Depression for the bottom 90%. All the assets inflate. So who does that benefit? Your policies benefit the 1%. Inflation disproportionately benefits.
This guy is actually fucking crazy. I don't know what planet this guy is from, but maybe he's like from Bizarro World, you know, like, you know, a very common reference that every one of you will get. Bizarro from Superman. He's from the opposite zone. Okay? You all understand that, right? Or maybe I'm just old and out of touch.
The 1%, it's an...
I know what the kids like, and the kids yearn for Bizarro references.
Immoral tax on the poor.
Listen,
and that's exactly what happens when they stimulate.
Inflation was not a function of monetary stimulus.
It absolutely was. They increased the money supply by $6 trillion,
No, I
man.
understand they did that. I understand
they increased the money supply by $6 trillion with quantitative easing. Don't you understand?
did that, and they could pull it back.
It has nothing to do with anything, bro.
Back on taxes with the wealthy, if they wanted to. You're making an argument for higher taxation.
Okay, do you think taxing people makes the country wealthier? Is that what you think?
Does it make the country
wealthier? Do taxes make us wealthy?
It gives us the ability to do government spending, ostensibly on public works projects that will help all of us become better off. Yeah.
Is that government increasing taxes? Are we now more wealthy? Do you think that
like this, to me this sounds so bizarre, right? Like, oh, you think taxing people in this city will allow us to build better roads? Yeah? What, you think people in this state paying more taxes will be able to have better upkeep of our infrastructure? Oh, I bet you think that, you dumb idiot. Like, wait, yes. Yes? If you tax people more, you have more money with which to do things. Like, I'm literally over here going like, in my head right now.
Uh-huh. Oh, $20. I wanted a peanut. $20 can buy many peanuts. Explain how. Money can be exchanged for goods and services. Woohoo!
Like literally I'm right there. Like that's where this guy is failing to operate. He can't even make it through the Homer Simpson line of logic, man.
The only way you create wealth is by producing.
If you tax and spend, government stimulus can, yes, increase GDP, of course.
Is GDP wealth?
It's typically one of the indicators that people use to measure wealth. Yeah. Gross domestic product. Yeah. Man, this hurts. I didn't expect to hurt this much on the economic questions, but like, damn. Conservatives, you are making this real hard on me right now. Is this the best you got? Really? Damn, son.
GDP wealth.
If we import 10 million immigrants and our GDP goes up, are we now wealthier?
Yes. Literally, yes. If you have 10 million more people in this country doing more labor, yes. What? If you added the population of an entire small country to the United States and had them performing labor, would that add to the amount of wealth being produced in this country? Yes. Literally by every possible metric. Like, labor is a key component of producing wealth. We have an entire theory about it. It's called the labor theory of value. I suggest you figure that out a little bit, bud. 10 million more taxpayers, 10 million more people working and creating and like participating in our system, circulating money in our economy. Yes. is a dollar more than a penny, right?
If the
Not
housing
necessarily.
costs
No, no,
more,
no,
if
no.
if CPI goes up because there's more
No,
people.
I understand you, and inflation is
basic
under
economics.
control, and we haven't pulled that money off the table.
Right, but I'm just saying that what
Inflation is back
Look,
is
the
back
welfare
down because
state-
we had a
You know, it's wild, right? Like, these people talk, conservatives in general do this a lot, but like, they talk about labor as if it is a negative thing. Like having laborers available to do jobs is a bad thing. And like, that's just not economically sound to like oppose that at all. More people working is generally a good thing for an economy. Now you can argue that like, oh, maybe you don't have all the housing all together and like whatnot, but like that's a problem we deal with all the time. Even when there aren't there isn't an influx of immigrants. That problem is still being addressed. And you want to know something? You guys want to get in on a little bit of a secret here? Come on in. Come in. Just okay. Just come in a little bit. All right. Come in here a little bit. God. Oh, I didn't prep for the bit. I didn't prep for the bit. God damn it. Okay, come in here for a little bit. All right. When you have laborers, and you have too many laborers, you want to know something that people can do? The government can put money into public housing in order to alleviate some of those growing pains so that workers can be more productive and can integrate more successfully in the surrounding community. It's almost like, those taxpayer dollars can be used to right away ramp up productivity and wealth creation. Like it's almost like that. Like you can use wealth that way. Okay. I'm done with my secrets.
problem.
the welfare
with
state makes us all
logistics.
poorer.
No,
That's
it
yes,
doesn't.
it does. And you can see
It
it
doesn't. We
across
have
history.
if you compare,
People want to
if you
come here for
compare-
economic opportunity. We don't want handouts. We want opportunity. That's why as an immigrant, that's why my family came here. We left the socialist paradise. It's garbage. The people that come here want economic opportunity. And you're stifling that. You're undermining capitalism and the free markets with your utopian vision.
There is no
And
free markets, dude.
Well, there's not anymore.
No, there's never
But now
been a
there
free
used to be.
market. No.
That is
The free market is a fantasy. Every country controls their markets to some degree. And if the country isn't controlling it, you can bet your bootstraps that a company is controlling it.
that is what makes America the greatest. That's what makes the greatest. America is the greatest economy in the world because of the free market.
The greatest
free market capitalism is the most ethical and
America
moral.
had was when we had 90% tax.
That's not true. The numbers are against you.
1940, 1950, 1960, the highest top marginal
So
tax rate
stagflation.
was
So what happened in the
90%,
70s?
and we
When
had
Milton Friedman predicted stagflation in the 70s with your social welfare.
we had OPEC.
When
we had
your
an
welfare
oil shock that drove inflation way up, and that was a function of OPEC. But in the 1940s, 1950s, and
Dude, just shut the fuck up because he has no idea what OPEC is or how it affected the economy in the 70s. Incidentally, those same like oil shocks that caused economic problems around the world led to things like the dissolution of Yugoslavia, different countries that had built a lot of their economy around oil in particular came close to not surviving or just completely dissolved. Similar problems happened in like Venezuela with their economy. They built up a whole welfare state based on the price of oil, and they kind of got screwed by that. Like that's a recurring story of basing your economy on like one primary boom or bust resource. And that affects all economies that do that. And this guy just doesn't really understand anything he's talking about.
1960s, highest top marginal tax rate was 90%.
we have an
we had
industrial
wealth inequality shrink.
Post-World War
We had something
II
called the
industrial
Great Compression, and more
we
people
had
enjoyed.
post-World War II industrial revolution. We were producing more than every other country. No, it's because we were producing more than every other country. That's what creates wealth.
And we were doing that with.
If production creates wealth, I'm just gonna spitball here. Do you think you can produce more if you have, say, 10 million more people in your country? Can you produce more goods and services? Just wondering here, pal. Just wondering here, pal.
A 90% tax rate on the wealthiest individuals.
Which was less when
90%.
When Reagan came in and brought it down, the top 1% paid more. Can you believe that?
No.
Do you know that federal income tax? Wait. You know federal income tax?
This guy it's incredible. Again, so many of these people seem like they went to a school where they learned they just were taught wrong as a joke, you know? Like, so many of these people.
It was when it was established.
You're talking about the Laffer curve, and I'm
no,
telling
I'm not
you to
talking
go
about
look
that.
at
Here's my last
Kansas.
claim. When federal income tax in 1913, when it was established, was only targeted at the people making 100,000 and over. Now we don't even know, most people don't even know that. It's just a base tax. Why? Because the projections that they had of taxing the rich didn't work out like they thought. Because it doesn't work out. There's a ton of loopholes. The rich are smart.
You know, then I'm just spitballing here, but maybe we should close those loopholes. You know, if the rich are using a bunch of loopholes to get out of paying taxes, maybe we should, like, I don't know, prosecute them for that, or like close the loopholes. Feel like maybe there's a solution there too, that doesn't involve raising taxes on the working class. I just come on, man. How much boot can you lick?
Like, the rich people are smart, so focus on.
Rich people are smart, bro. Don't you get it, bro?
Marginal rate still produced an effective tax rate that is double what it is today. 50% effective tax rate.
Does not create more wealth.
Yes.
More taxes
well,
do not
I don't know what you mean by wealth. I mean,
wealth is very simple. It's production of goods and services. That's what wealth is. That's what creates wealth. Money.
Someone needs, again, I need to reiterate, needs to understand the labor theory of value here.
People think money is
more
wealth.
Taxes
money buys wealth.
Creates less wealth inequality, and then you have wealth that is shared by more people rather than being in the hands of a plutocracy or a plutonomy. And then you get stuff like an oligarchy.
We've seen what happens when you punish your top producers over and over again.
I got bad news for you, buddy. Billionaires and millionaires produce exactly jack and shit. They aren't making the goods and services, bro. They just own the factories. There's a big difference between making goods and services, making goods, providing services, and simply owning something. Owning something is not producing. The people who produce are your workers, your laborers, the very people you looked down upon earlier in this conversation.
They leave, they stop producing, the government, the
capital flight's a myth.
No, it isn't.
It absolutely is.
Cripple the economy. Guess what happens next?
Wait. When did this happen in the country? When we had a 90% tax rate?
It happens in every socialist country. This is the socialist playbook. They come in and they're like, guys.
This is not a socialist country, and I'm not calling for socialism to have higher tax rates.
It is more socialist than ever before.
No,
this guy doesn't even know what socialism is. This guy's literally saying that higher tax rates is socialism, which is maybe, as a socialist, one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. You know, like, so yeah, socialism is when you tax people, is maybe one of the dumbest things I've ever heard on this show. And I've heard a lot of dumb things. You know, like,
socialism is when the government does stuff.
More social welfare spending.
No.
GDP, I'll say it again, 38% of government spending, of GDP is government spending. We have more social welfare
Dog, it's government spending that produces goods and services.
programs. And look at what happens. But how come we have all these programs and the black community is still living in poverty?
All right. I didn't expect that to come out of fucking nowhere. All right. Real quick, how come we have all these programs and the black community is still living in poverty? Well, you take a group of people and you treat them as property and don't allow them to accrue generational wealth for a period of like 300, 400 years, and then you they become freed over the course of a long struggle, and then the dominant society still continues to discriminate against them as second class citizens, and denies them economic opportunity at almost every turn. And when they are economically successful, certain elements of society attack them, burn down their cities, etc., their parts of town. um it limits the accruement of that generational wealth, even after the end of slavery. And then you have effectively redlining, putting those groups of people into different areas where they can then be discriminated against based on what side of the tracks they're from or what side of town they're from, as a kind of a loophole to continue discrimination. You have like different policies of like not allowing people to rent apartments in different parts of town based on the color of their skin, and that legacy continues to this day, and thus we have a massive wealth disparity between these different social groups, and that is largely artificially created and maintained by a white supremacist system that we should probably be aware of and dismantle. It's not that complicated.
What programs are you talking about that are geared towards the black community? We during in 2021.
What do you mean, what programs?
We expended. Hold on. In 2021.
What do you mean? What program? How much money is enough? When is it enough? You have the richest country.
Wait, what programs are you talking about? DEI programs? Because like DEI programs aren't economic like handouts to like level the playing field. They're just like programs that help to hire people who manage to get qualified in different fields, which all like that reaching that level of qualification takes a lot of work and effort and opportunity that not everyone gets when you are in a historically marginalized community.
Country in the world.
We offered $300.
The way you guys think is just insane to me. Like
in 20, let me just finish this.
All right, go
in
ahead.
2021, we extended the child tax credit, which is basically a payment, $300 per social welfare.
Yes, yes.
We cut child poverty in 1 year by 45%. By 45%, but because no Republican would join the Democrats, and Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin voted against this provision in Bill back. I'm talking 2021. From 2021 to 2022, we cut child poverty in this country by 45%. Look it up.
I feel like when I look at it,
I guarantee.
Well, I feel like you're going to be wrong about that, buddy. Is not a great retort on that one. And by the way, Sam is 100% correct. The child tax credit was one of the most wildly successful government programs of all time. And the fact that Democrats whiffed it and did not manage to like keep it in place is maybe one of the biggest blunders of all time. Like when you have a program that allows you to cut child poverty in half from like where it was, like I don't know, like it seems to me like you should double down on that program and get that number to zero. I don't know. I happen to be someone who's anti-child poverty, I guess. Maybe that makes me rare in the United States.
I will give you my phone number. You call me, and if I was wrong.
All right, we'll call.
I'll do it off camera. and you will see that we cut child poverty in a year by 45%.
I'll look into your claim.
Oh, Sam actually got to show this guy the evidence. That's great. That's wonderful. This guy is fucking crazy, and I imagine his position is not at all changed by that information. But you know, I hope maybe he changed his heart a little bit. You know, maybe it helped him to realize he was wrong about a few things. I'd like to imagine that these people aren't so far gone that they're just like cheering on child poverty.
All right, guys.
All right. Anyway, we'll talk after.
Whew. Folks, we are now 4 hours into stream, and we've come to the end of section 3 of Sam Cedar Surrounded, and I, for one, am very much enjoying this journey we're taking together. I'm glad we're savoring it as opposed to just sitting down and going through it. Amazing stuff.